Unit 6 Assessment Review 6.06 and 6.07 Answers and Questions. What we have learned in Unit 6, the goals and techniques of painters, authors, and composers, major innovators in the new mass society and what they are known for, major leaders of the labor and women's movements and their methods for achieving reform, changes in the way many people lived as a mass society developed, methods Henry Ford used to bring automobiles to the masses, living and working conditions in the cities of the 1800s and how they were improved, and the meaning of the term mass society. Women's rights. The women's rights movement was led by a growing number of well-educated and well-to-do women. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott organized and led the Seneca Falls Conference in 1848 to discuss the issues of women's rights. Susan B. Anthony was a major U.S. women's rights leader. She was arrested for illegally casting a vote in the U.S. presidential election. Emmeline Pankhurst was a women's rights and suffrage activist in Great Britain. Changes in the 20th century. New style of stores began. Mass-produced products. People could see the products in displays. Prices of products were fixed. People could begin to buy goods on credit. New labor-saving devices were created and sold. Washing machines, sewing machines, and vacuum cleaners. Popular entertainment. Silent movies, recorded music for phonographs, vaudeville shows, movies, silent movies early, and then movies with sounds later, professional sports, boxing, auto racing, baseball, hockey, horse racing, amusement parks, carnival rides, dance halls, travel destinations, and trolley parks, and then magazines and newspapers. Important to note, the new middle class and a growing lower class had money to spend and leisure time for these activities. Newspapers. Newspapers competed for circulation. They wrote sensationalized stories that often stretched the truth or outright lied to sell more papers. Greatest examples was the struggle between William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer in the competition for readers for their papers. Yellow journalism was sensationalized stories. Naturalists and naturalism. Belief that human beings are shaped by their environment. Emile Zola was a naturalist author that showed naturalism in his writings. His novels showed how the living conditions and social situations often shaped the people and determined the fate of his characters. He wrote the novel L'Assommoir, in which he focused on hardship and suffering in the slums of Paris. Impressionists. These are the different forms of artists. Emphasize changing effects of light, use short brushstrokes to add vivid colors. So we've got a picture of Monet, a picture of Renoir, and a picture from Cassatt. All three of those were Impressionist artists. Then we've got the Cubist artists. They broke down and imaginatively resembled objects with geometric shapes. Two famous Cubist artists were Picasso and Braque. And then we have the Post-Impressionists. Van Gogh was probably the most popular. Post-Impressionists used distinct colors and bold swirling brushstrokes. Van Gogh suffered from bouts of mental illness. And then we had abstract, art that does not attempt to represent external reality, but seeks to achieve its effect using shapes, forms, colors, and textures. And Kandinsky is the most notable artist that we studied during this unit. Famous remarkable people. Sigmund Freud, his nationality was Austrian. He was known as a neurologist and founder of the field of psychoanalysis in psychology. His contribution, he probed the working of the conscious and unconscious mind, and he felt that conscious and unconscious desires were controlled by powerful instincts. Aristide Boucicaut. His nationality was French, and he was known for the opening of Bon Marché, which was a department store. He was a traveling salesman that settled in Paris, and he created and opened the world's first department store. He changed how products were sold and increased the number of available products sold by a store. Louis Pasteur. His nationality was French. He was known for studying microorganisms, and he was a chemist that studied the process of fermentation. He studied how bacteria grew and spread, and developed vaccines against rabies, cholera, and anthrax. Frederick Law Olmsted. He was an American, and he was a landscape artist, journalist, and social critic. He designed a series of public parks, starting with Central Park in New York City. He worked with the Yosemite Commission to preserve the area as a park, now a national park, worked on many projects including the Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C. and Biltmore Estate for the Vanderbilt family. George Eugene Haussmann. His nationality was French. He was known as a French administrator and planned for redevelopment of Paris. His contributions were important. He carried out the urban renewal plan for the city of Paris under the direction of Napoleon III. He developed new wide boulevards, public water systems and sewer systems, and parks. He rebuilt sections of the city with modern housing after tearing down old buildings. Igor Stravinsky. He was Russian in nationality. He was known as a composer, pianist, and a conductor. His music was known for its stylistic diversity, and he became known for his ballet russes and compositions. His Rite of Spring ballet composition was controversial, unpredictable, and dissonant. Henry Ford. Henry Ford was American, and he was an entrepreneur and an automaker. His goal was to build a car that everyone would want to buy and could afford to buy. The creation of the assembly line allowed workers to make cars faster and allowed them to cost less. His moving assembly line made cars less expensive so that more people could afford to buy one. When you take your test, your 6.07 unit test, answers and questions, yes, you can use your notes. Yes, you can use your book. And yes, you can use your student guide and or your study guide. Please use time this afternoon to study, or whenever you're watching this recording, to study and be prepared to complete the Unit 6 assessment during class time tomorrow. Thank you for joining me.